Welcome to The Gangster, Book 6 in the Galactic Football League series. Written and performed by Scott Sigler, The Gangster is suitable for ages 12 and up and contains graphic violence. The Gangster is also available as a signed, numbered, limited edition hardcover while supplies last. To order, go to scottsigler.com/store. Hello, junkies! Here we are with episode number 32 of The Gangster. After this episode, only 8 episodes remain in this book. Whew, getting down to the nitty gritty, y'all. We found a cache. I never know how to pronounce that damn word. C-A-C-H-E. A cache. We found a cache of GFL t-shirts that we missed in the warehouse, and those shirts are now up at scottsigler.com/shop. This is the absolute last of our current inventory. If you don't see it on our site in your size, we ain't got it. We ain't going to get it for you. We are preparing to find a new way to sell stuff so that our beloved international customers don't have to pay through the nose for shipping. It's gotten to the point where shipping costs more than the product itself. That is untenable. We are looking for solutions to that. We will share more about our new solution prospects in the future, but overall, the international demand for our stuff, combined with skyrocketing postage and taxes, has forced us to rethink not only merch, but GFL Book 7 and 8 hardcovers as well. Don't panic. You're going to get them. It's going to be okay. But times change, my friends. Times change. I am currently hard at work on GFL Book 7's second draft. Have run into some troubles and have to go back and do some restructuring to the beginning. So I don't know when that will be done, but I can tell you there will not be a 5-year wait between Book 6 and 7 as there was between Book 5 and Book 6. But for now, let us focus on Book 6, which is this book, which is The Gangster. Let me get you caught up on the story, and then we're all going to go count some chickens. Previously on The Gangster, Quentin, Cillian, and Aya endured a brutal brawl at the Borehole and captured Gredok the Splithead. But that victory wouldn't have come without Virak the Mean betraying his shamakath. Deep in the Creterakian Empire, in Bat Country, Quentin and the others must leave the Borehole behind and find a place to hide. Book 7, Metamorphosis. The Question of Loyalty. Quentin piloted the little ruler. It was built by the same company that built his own yacht, the Hypatia. The controls and cockpit layout felt familiar. Perhaps too familiar, making Quentin wonder if he really was as different from Gredok as he thought. Two rich sentients, both obsessed with winning, both willing to do whatever it took to achieve their goals. He forced the thought away. He was nothing like Gredok. Nothing. The plan had worked in a way, yet it had ended in tragedy. More sentients dead because of Quentin. He, Cillian, and Beans had moved the bodies of Gristlehead, Ruang, the guard Carmago, and Chalita Sacacorn into cold storage on the Oleron. Where once there had been life, now there was only frozen flesh. The bodies would be disposed of along the way, launched into the blackness of space. An ignominious end for the prison physician. Quentin wanted to believe Sacacorn had known the risks involved, but he couldn't shake the guilt at her death. Cillian had locked Gredok in a storeroom on the Oleron. Masal had chosen to stay on that ship, perhaps to be near Gredok, perhaps because the worker didn't hide his open animosity toward Quentin. Maybe it was a little bit of both. The worker still hadn't stopped shaking. He appeared to be as afraid of Quentin as he had been of Gredok. A friendship forever broken. Cillian had refused to allow Virac onto the Oleron, which was why Quentin flew Gredok's yacht. Cillian wasn't taking a chance that the dangerous warrior might change his mind again, try to break Gredok free. Leave him behind in a cell, Cillian had said, but Quentin could not abandon his teammate. Quentin understood Cillian's fear, although Virac, for now, certainly didn't seem dangerous. The warrior said nothing, barely acknowledged anyone's presence, alternating his time between his cabin and the little ruler's small rejuve tank. Quentin had confined Gredok's pilot, a Leakey who went by the name of Blue Shell Eater, to her quarters and the crew galley for the duration of the trip. She had enough food and creature comforts to last a month at least. Once the pilot learned that 2 of Gredok's retinue were dead, she seemed happy just to be alive. She'd promised to stay out of the way, even offered to help with anything the yacht needed during the trip. The desire to stay alive did wonders for shifting loyalties. Quentin was going to need some serious time in a rejuve tank. Concussion, broken teeth, broken nose, a chunk bitten out of his left calf. Before leaving the borehole, he hadn't had time to do anything other than slap on a few nanosite bandages. The tank would have to wait, though. His wounds weren't as bad as Virac's, or Aya's for that matter. The woman had suffered a broken right clavicle, a cracked sternum, and 2 broken ribs. With how hard the heavy key had hit her, she'd gotten off easy. She was lucky to be alive. After putting Gredok in restraints, Cillian, Zan, and Beans had operated with speed and efficiency, preparing for and executing departure from the borehole. Even Aya, despite her injuries, had methodically worked through a detailed list of tasks. It was obvious the Oleron's crew had done things like this before. They were a tight-knit team. Everyone worked fast, and no one complained. Beans and Zan had gone back into the corridors in the cell, applied a heavy chemical cleansing that would wipe out any and all biological residue left by Gredok, his bodyguards, or the Oleron crew. Aya had wiped the Trojan horse from the borehole's computers, erased any electronic record of the incident. It was like the Oleron had never been there at all. Her crew were ghosts, in and out quickly, leaving no trace. For Quentin, it wasn't that easy. He'd been arrested by the Creterakian Ministry of Religion. He was a wanted man. His best shot at freedom was to record Gredok recanting his testimony, send that recording to Danny Lundy to pass on to lawyers, and hope for the best. Quentin might very well spend the rest of his life as a fugitive. How would he reconnect with Becca? He didn't know, but he'd find a way. By now, the cells containing Borehole staff had opened. Those sentients would be regaining control over the facility, assessing the damage. One prisoner, Quentin, and 2 staff members, Saccacorn and Carmago, were unaccounted for. Sentients would assume Saccacorn had helped Quentin escape, which, in truth, she had. Zan had chosen another abandoned mine in which to hide. Aside from Big Rock, there were no gravitational wells near the borehole by which to anchor a punch, so the Oleron and the Little Ruler flew at relativistic speeds. Even though they were staying in the same asteroid field, the trip to Zan's target would take 2 standard days. Plenty of time to think. Quentin finished instructing the yacht's flight computer to follow the Oleron. From here until they reached the asteroid, unless they came across a Creterakian ship, the Little Ruler would be on autopilot. He left the bridge. High One did his head hurt. Pain relief meds helped with his nose and mouth, but did little to alleviate the thick, throbbing agony that filled his head. He'd been in worse pain. He would survive. It was time to talk to Virac. Quentin found the warrior in the Little Ruler's small medbay, crammed into a rejuve tank not suited to his large dimensions. It figured. Gredok would have fit in the tank with room to spare. The leader cared about himself first and foremost. Always. Himself. "You and I seem to spend a lot of time in these things," Quentin said. "I hope it's helping with your injuries." The gel could heal Virac's cuts and scrapes. That chitin crack in his chest, though, and that bandaged, ragged stub of his missing middle arm finger would require a surgeon's care. Quentin glanced at his own missing pinky. He'd sacrificed it to stay in the game, to win a title. What had the warrior sacrificed his for? "Hey, Virac," Quentin said. "You feeling any better?" Virac either ignored the questions or didn't hear them. The half-lidded, baseball-sized eyes stared out at nothing. "I have to know something," Quentin said. "Why? Why did you do it? I'm staying right here until you talk to me. Virac didn't respond. Quentin waited. 5 minutes went by. Then 10. Quentin leaned against the wall. After 15 awkward minutes, Virac finally spoke.
I have been asking myself that same question,
he said.
I acted in the moment. I am not sure why I did what I did.
Virac was one tough customer, a seasoned, hardened killer, yet in the warrior's voice, Quentin heard heartbreak. I'm sorry you had to shoot Ruang.
I do not care about that one. He was nothing to me. Nor do I care about Gristlehead. What matters is that I betrayed my shamakath.
Quentin had first met Virac on the loading dock of the Combine, when Gredok had come to collect his new rookies. At that time, and in the 5 years since, Virak the Mean had been as hard as battleship armor. Stoic, uncompromising, a machine of intensity and violence. Not any longer. Virak the Mean looked frail. Gredok wasn't worthy of your loyalty, Quentin said. You said that yourself. Virac dismissively waved a pedipalp hand, an all-too-human gesture.
His worthiness is irrelevant. I gave my oath of fealty, then I broke it. I am now... the human word that best corresponds is Ronin.
That word, Ronin, to be without a master. A pejorative for the Quyth, as orphan was in the purest nation but 100 times worse. For warriors and workers, and even most leaders, to have no allegiance to a dominant leader was the same thing as having no value. Quentin had learned that when Chodo had sworn fealty, when Quentin had become Chodo's shamakath.
Gredok the Splithead is a great leader,
Virac said.
I betrayed him.
He's evil. Quentin didn't bother to hide his own anger. He manipulates everyone. He's a criminal. And worse than that, he is a coward. You saw how he acted when Sandoval attacked the touchback. Gredok sent you to die so he could run away. The warrior shifted in the too small rejuve tank. Some of the pink gel spilled over the side.
Leaders are not expected to fight,
he said.
They must stay alive to provide for the group as a whole.
Hokor fought.
And Hokor died. Gredok is still alive. In the Quyth tradition, underlings are expendable if their sacrifice keeps their shamakath alive.
Sometimes Quentin wondered if the word tradition was used simply as an excuse for aberrant behavior. Just because something was established didn't make it right. Growing up in the purest nation had taught him that.
I followed Gredok my entire life,
Virac said.
He sired my brood, and...
Gredok was your father? Virac seemed to have trouble processing that word.
Technically, he was, but the Quyth do not have the same concept of family that humans do. Each egg sac has a single leader that emerges dominant. When my egg sac split, Gredok killed the infant leader.
Wait a minute, Quentin said. Not only was Gredok your father, he killed one of your brothers? Virac slid further into the tank, making more gel slosh over the side to slowly crawl down the tank's sides.
I am not in the mood to debate the differences between our species. What Gredok did is common.
The Quyth had the ability to mimic the tones of any species. Most were taught English or Mandarin in order to communicate with humans. Quyth sounded human, but they were not. Infanticide, slavery, lack of free will. In some aspects, the Quyth way of life was utterly barbaric. I don't want to debate anything, Quentin said. I'm not judging you or your species. I want to understand why you turned on Gredok. Maybe if you keep talking about it, you will figure it out. Virac's eye flicked to Quentin, then stared straight ahead again.
Talking is merely making air move,
the warrior said.
It accomplishes nothing.
Quentin had felt the same way once because he'd had no one to talk to. Then he'd joined the Krakens, met Yitzhak, Big Mike, John and Jew, Ma, even Masal. Sentience he could relate to, could share with. And now he had Becca, the one person he could share everything with. He missed her so much. "You're wrong," Quentin said. "Talking can help. You say you don't know why you turned on Gredok, but you did not make that decision only in the heat of the moment. Did you have doubts about your loyalty to Gredok before today?" Another fast flick of the eye. Virac adjusted in the tank. He didn't sit up exactly, but his slump became less pronounced.
"I have been Gredok's underling my entire life. He is a great leader, brilliant, strong, and decisive. I was proud to serve him and bask in his glories. I never questioned my role until you came back for me."
A swirl of purple on his cornea. Quentin's selfless act to save Virac from Sandoval still confused the warrior. To Virac, that act was likely as alien as Quith infanticide was to Quentin.
"Some leaders, perhaps, would have tried to save a prized underling,"
Virac said.
"Most, though, would do exactly what Gredok did. They would have fled, sacrificed the underling in order to create a better chance to escape, to survive. That is normal. That is logical. What you did, Quentin, risking your own life to save mine when you had no obligation to me, it makes no sense."
Another color joined the swirl of confused purple. A light red. Sometimes that meant appreciation, sometimes friendship.
"I was willing to die for Gredok,"
Virac said.
"That is a warrior's lot in life. But in the cell, when Gredok ordered me to cut your thumb off, I thought of Sandoval standing over me, holding Bobby Brope's gun. Had you not come back, Sandoval would have killed me. When I should have been obeying my shamakath's orders without question, I was thinking of that moment. And I was thinking of football, of how we have twice been crowned champions. You, me, Montaigne, Chodo, John Tweedy, all the Krakens. You ask why I turned on Gredok? Because I had a moment of unforgivable weakness. Because when I should have been strong and loyal, I failed."
So much self-hatred in those words. "You did not fail," Quentin said. "You did the right thing."
"A worthless sentiment."
"No, it's not. You turned on Gredok because, finally, you thought for yourself instead of letting him do your thinking for you. You made a choice, Virac, and I am grateful for it." The warrior slumped deeper into the tank's gel.
"Your gratitude does not erase my dishonor. What are you going to do with Gredok?"
How would Virac react if he knew what was to come? Would he change his mind, fight to protect the leader he had been protecting his entire life? Chodo hadn't reacted poorly, but then again, Chodo had pledged fealty to Quentin, and Chodo the Bright was not Virak the Mean. Virac would find out soon enough. Better to know now where the warrior stood. "I'm going to give him Gibeljuance." The warrior didn't react at first. Quentin stayed quiet, let him think.
"You will end his syndicate,"
the warrior said.
"Yet you will not kill him. I cannot decide if your tactic is utterly ruthless or pathetically soft."
Quentin also didn't know which. "I know this is complicated for you, Virac, but I could use your help." Again, the warrior fell silent. Quentin waited.
"If the Toltafine works, you realize that Non-Quith cannot lay eyes upon the new queen. Missal cannot handle the necessary duties on his own. I will assist in protecting the new queen until she's placed in a proper support structure."
Quentin didn't know what a proper support structure was. Maybe he should have read more of the books Purifor had provided. "Thank you," he said.
"Do not thank me. I am not doing this for you. I am doing it because it is necessary. I give you my word that I will stay in this yacht until the cocoon forms. However, you have just witnessed how worthless my word is. If you were smart, you would take my life. Now.
Yes, that was the smart thing to do. It had been the smart thing to do back at the Borehole, and Quentin hadn't done it then either. The warrior was still dangerous. Then yes, stay here until the cocoon forms, Quentin said. I won't kill you, but if you leave before I come to get you, my father will. Virac said nothing. Quentin took that as acceptance. When this is over, what will you do?
I am Ronin, Quentin. I am worthless. If I must live without honor, then I prefer not to live at all. I will do what is required of an oathbreaker like me. After I have seen to the new queen's needs, I will perform Giris.
Giris. Quith ritual suicide. Another tradition that Quentin had to accept? When George Starcher had been suicidal, when he tried to vent himself out of the Touchback's landing bay, Quentin had risked his life to save the man. Quentin hadn't stood idly by then. He would not idly stand by now. Quentin and Virac had been at each other's throats since Quentin had joined the Krakens, their mutual animosity driven by being on opposite sides of Gredok's desires. Virac had been an enemy, yes, but also a teammate, a fellow champion. To see the warrior so desolate, was there a way to make him, well, maybe not happy, but at least give him purpose once again? Quentin thought back to the Hypatia galley, to what Shoto had said.
You are what a leader is supposed to be. Many warriors would kill to prove their worth to you.
Perhaps Quentin could use one Quith tradition to stop another. You're Ronin, he said, but you don't have to be. The words hung in the air. Virac slowly sat up, gel creeping down his shoulders, along his cracked chest chitin. He turned his body. No brief flick of the eye this time, the warrior stared straight at Quentin.
I do not like talking in circles,
Virac said.
Tell me what you mean.
Quentin felt he was going to regret this, but there was no other choice. You say you have no honor. You're wrong. You saved my life because you have honor, because you repay your debts, because you do the right thing. That is the kind of follower I want. The only kind I want. Virak the Mean, I will be your shamakath. Colors swirled on Virac's cornea. The yellow of nervous excitement, the dark red of surprise, the blackish red of unbridled hate.
Your offer is significant, but I must decline. My betrayal is unforgivable. I am not worthy. Please leave me be.
I will, Quentin said. But answer one more question for me. Gredok said one of his underlings followed up on Jonathan Sandoval's research about the schism meeting. Do you know who that was?
Yes, Wakan Reed.
The smiling man who had accompanied Masal to the Hypatia.
Reed knows the truth about the schism,
Virac said.
As do I. You should kill us both, and Masal as well. Kill anyone who knows. That is what Gredok would have done.
The warrior was offering advice. Quentin had seen him do that to Gredok, and every time Virac did, the leader shot him down. I don't want to kill anyone, Quentin said.
Then it turns out you are pathetically soft after all. I will vacate the rejuve tank in an hour so you can tend to your wounds. Leave me be, Quentin. Leave me be.
There was nothing else to say, for now. Quentin left the medbay, but he wasn't finished with Virac. Not by a long shot. The warrior needed a leader in order to find meaning in life? Well, that was just fine. To quote Gredok himself, an offer had been tendered. Quentin would keep at it until Virac accepted. You have been listening to The Gangster, Book 6 in the Galactic Football League series, written and narrated by Scott Ziegler. Follow Scott on Instagram and Twitter, where he is at Scott Ziegler, one word, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Scott Ziegler. For more information on the Galactic Football League series and for more free audiobook podcasts, visit scottziegler.com. The Gangster was directed by A. Sigler, engineered by Steve Rickyberg. Copyright 2020, Empty Set Entertainment. Theme music is the song They're Watching Me by the band Superweapon.